So lately, I've been seeing a lot of things floating around on comments on my videos and just the generic internet that people are afraid that Deep Rock Galactic is dying. And I think that it's important to talk about, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So for this video, I'm probably going to do very little scripting, if any, just because I think that it's more important that when we talk about a topic like this, that the thoughts are more genuine, more just kind of open. So I'm going to kind of just be talking a little bit more off the cuff than I normally do, because I think that it's important to be genuine when discussing something like this. So a lot of people are afraid that the future of Deep Rock Galactic is looking kind of grim and that the game is slowly approaching a dying state for some reason. And I think that it's important that we discuss why that fear is there and why people are afraid of this, and also what it means for the future of the game and if it's a genuine fear or not. Because as I've said many times throughout the course of this channel, this is a fantastic game series that I love very much and I don't want to see it go anywhere. So the fear of it disappearing or dying, of course, I don't want, and I'm sure nobody else wants. So let's try to talk this through and figure out what exactly is going on here. I think the best place to start off is probably talking about where this fear first originated from for a lot of people. And I think that I can narrow it down to either season 3 or season 4, specifically probably more towards season 4, just because that's when a lot of people started to really notice the more or less drop in quality that was season 4 compared to the ones that we have had so far. In the beginning, I myself was a big fan of season 4 and I did like it a lot, but once the kind of honeymoon phase wore off, I was a little bit more aware of what exactly was happening in season 4 that kind of draw it back compared to other seasons. And I think that that's the same case for a lot of people, and that kind of made everybody afraid that the seasons were going to start to go downhill very, very fast. Now, I think it's important to realize that any sort of game that has seasonal based content like this, you're going to have high seasons and you're going to have low seasons. You're going to have seasons like season 1, which in my opinion was probably the best season we've had since the game's release. And then you're going to have stuff like season 4, which is rather lackluster and doesn't really have nearly as much as what we've seen before. Now, I think it's also important to think about that from the devs' perspectives. Multiple times throughout the course of streams, they've mentioned that part of the problem they have with seasonal content is being able to fit everything into one season when they have a lot of different things that they want to be added in. Case in point with seasons 1 and 2, much of the stuff that was added in season 2, they actually wanted to have in season 1, but they just didn't have enough time to fit it in, so that's why it was relegated to season 2 along with additional stuff. Same thing kind of happened with season 3 and 4. A lot of the stuff that they wanted to have in season 4, they wanted to originally put into season 3, but they just didn't have the time to do it. So the latter season of whatever theme is going on, so Rival Tech or Rockpox, kind of gets the leftovers of what they wanted from the previous season that they initially wanted to put in, along with other stuff to kind of make it feel more like a full season. So I think that's part of the big reason as to why season 4 has felt so low compared to season 3 and even the other seasons we've had so far. And I think that players definitely noticed that, hence why this fear or this hesitancy of the game continuing started to kind of fester for some people. And again, keep in mind, we're talking about a game that is, for all intents and purposes, completely free to invest yourself into outside of the initial cost. These seasons don't come to us at any price to us. You don't have to buy them. There's no premium pass that you have to get like in other games. And that is a very big factor that goes into this, because it means that it's going to take them naturally just longer to make this kind of stuff, because they don't have that kind of jumpstart economy that other games that have microtransactions, that have premium passes, or whatever the case may be, to sort of help them get the big lump sums of money that they need to pump out seasons very quickly, or to have seasons that completely game break and change the mold every single time. So that's also an important thing to keep track of. In terms of this season being a preview that the game is dying, I don't know if I can necessarily make that much of a connection, because as I said before, in games that have seasonal based structures like this, you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. You're going to have season 1s and you're going to have season 4s. And I think that because we are reaching the first quote unquote bad season that the game has had so far, I don't think that it's quite enough for people to say that this means, oh, well, the game's dying. The devs are not putting enough effort or not putting enough time into the seasons that they're making because this one has under-delivered. I think it's just more of a case of the devs tried something, they realized it didn't work, and they're going to try something different from there. And I think something that further fueled this fear, which feels kind of weird to me because it was a very positive thing that happened, but a lot of people are taking it in a more of a negative sense, was their On the Horizon stream they did a couple weeks ago, where they showcased a lot of things that they were talking about, from new games that they were publishing, to new expansions to the board game, to new projects that they're working on, including an entirely new spin-off game for the Deep Rock Galactic franchise called Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core. Now, I made 2 videos that talk about it, one talking about all of the Rogue Core screenshots and all the information that we know so far, and one going over the stream itself. I'll have both of those videos here so you can check them out if you want, so I won't go too much into detail. But essentially, a lot of people were worried that now that they're working on so many more projects, that they aren't going to put nearly as much effort into Deep Rock Galactic, and they're just going to kind of let the game fall apart and die. And I don't think that that's really a fair thing to say, because in defense of the devs, it kind of makes sense that they would want to continually expand their product and their project to varying different degrees, and I personally don't see much of a problem in them doing something like that. I know there's a lot of people out there that when they get invested in a game and when they play it, they just want that to be, the crux of what the game is, and they don't want it to change. They don't want it to do anything different. They're like, I like Deep Rock Galactic for what it is. I want to just keep it exactly what it is. I don't want you to do anything else. And that's kind of a bit of a tall order to ask, especially for a development crew like Ghost Ship, who over the past several years has definitely improved, expanded, and has gotten way bigger than they were in the very beginning. So to tell them, hey, I know you guys want to work on a lot of other stuff and you want to expand on this universe that you created, I kind of don't want you to do that because I just like the game for what it is. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to ask them to do that, if that makes any sense. Personally, when I saw what they had announced on the stream, talking about Rogue Core, talking about the board game, talking about all the other games that they're publishing, I was incredibly excited because I saw this as a chance for Deep Rock Galactic to grow, not just as a game, but as a universe. And I think that a lot of people really like that because this has one of the most interesting communities in video game history, at least in my opinion. It spreads so far and wide, and pretty much in any sort of demographic or community you go to, chances are you'll probably find at least one person who is really interested in the game because it just has that kind of a stretch.
Why are you guys doing Deep Rock Galactic memes? I don't understand them. You're losing me.
And Ghost Ship knows this, and they want to continue to stretch its reach a lot farther than what it is now. And because of the way that Deep Rock Galactic is made, they can't really do a whole lot of things that they want to do because it just doesn't fit into the theme or the style or the motif or whatever the case may be, which is why we got things like Rogue Core, which is a very big change from the original DRG algorithm to something completely different that the devs can do without having to compromise what regular Deep Rock Galactic is all about. So I think people kind of got a little bit overwhelmed when they saw this stream, and they sort of jumped the gun and thought, oh, well, they're abandoning Deep Rock Galactic. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's more like they just want to evolve Deep Rock Galactic in a sense and expand it with different avenues, different genres, try to expand to a bunch of different people, and that is the intention that they're going for, and I think people kind of misconstrued it a little bit. And I think it's fair for people to be a little bit skeptical, especially when we had just had a season that was rather lackluster and we really didn't hear much of anything from them for a while, which we understand now is because they were working on all of these projects as well as other things in the background. And I think a lot of people got the intention that Ghost Ship just wasn't listening to the fan base because they were remaining quiet, they weren't really doing anything about the issues at large, and a lot of people had just assumed that, okay, well, it's because they're working on all this stuff now, which I think is why the announcement they made a couple days ago about the mid-November update really helped elevate spirits for a lot of people, because they had announced that they were fixing many of the issues that people had been talking about since pretty much the beginning of season 4, with things like rockpox being too annoying. You can actually turn that off now, adding new ways for you to progress and get new things that you could unlock, and overall just quality of life changes that people have been asking for since season 4's beginning, essentially. And now they're finally implementing these changes. That way people have a much funner time filling the gap until until Season 5. Now, a lot of people are still very upset about the fact that Season 5 has been delayed, which I am in that boat as well, don't get me wrong, but I think that seeing what's to come is making that wait a little bit more bearable, and I think is something that is going to be a very low drag for a while, but it's just going to mean that the stuff that does come out is going to be that much better. Now, I'm not trying to say that people are bad for thinking that the game is dying for any stretch of the imagination, because in their defense, it may have seemed like it for a while because essentially nothing was happening. But I think Ghost Ship deserves a little bit more credit than what they are given, simply because they have made a game that really sticks out when you compare it to the other titles that exist out there today. It is a game that pretty much requires no monetary investment other than initially purchasing the game, which is almost completely unheard of in today's gaming economy. You either have games that have ridiculous amounts of microtransactions, obscene amounts of paywalls for content, or just try to money grub at any possible opportunity that they're given, and this game does not do that in any stretch of the imagination. It's also a game that is very accessible and is not competitive in any stretch as well, which is also very, very rare to come by in the battle royale hyper shooter genre craze that we're in right now. Ultimately, I think that people have just been a little bit confused as to what the future of Deep Rock Galactic has been over these past several months, because again, with the lackluster Season 4, with the lack of information given, and then the information that was given to us are talking about other projects, and Deep Rock Galactic seems to be on the back burner compared to the other projects, I can see why people were a little bit dissuaded, but make no mistake, I don't think the game is dying anytime soon for any reason, because its player base is still fantastic, the community is still fantastic. I think that it's more safe to say that the game is evolving into different things, because look at the number of things that have sprouted from Deep Rock Galactic. We have an incredible board game, we have 2 new spin-off games that are coming out with Survivor, Rogue Core, and who knows what else the devs have planned. I think that the fear of Deep Rock Galactic going away was an understandable one, but I think that with the information that we have gotten recently, I think it's safe to say that the game is not going anywhere. And although we are in a bit of a lull right now, I think that it's going to make what comes that much better. The next year is going to be a little bit rough for Deep Rock Galactic as a whole, and I can definitely see a lot of people taking big breaks and going on to doing other things and only playing during events just to get whatever they want to get. But that's just going to make Season 5 when it comes out, and Season 6, Season 7, whatever they decide to go for after that, plus Rogue Core and everything else that comes out, is just going to be that much better and that much more satisfying when it does come out, because these things are slow burns. It takes a while to create a game, it takes a while to balance everything. Anytime they put something in, they have to design a whole bunch of stuff in it, that way it's not just completely obliterating the meta, even though there really isn't that much of a meta because it's a PvE game, but they still don't want things to be super overpowered. So in summary, is Deep Rock Galactic dying? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to die anytime soon. I don't think the community is going to let it die. I don't think the devs are going to let it die. This game is too good to let just drift into nothingness. I don't think anybody's going to let that happen. I do think that it is going to be a bit of a slow burn for a little while, and we kind of just need to roll with it until it happens. However, once the low is over, we're going to be seeing a lot of great things happen in this series, both in the normal game, in Rogue Core, and anything else that comes around. So that is all the thoughts I kind of wanted to give. Thank you guys for listening to me sort of ramble for a little while. I just kind of wanted to get those thoughts off my head, because I had been seeing a lot of people mention the fear or the thought or the notion that the game was going away or that the devs didn't care about. And I just wanted to voice my opinion on that and say my thoughts on the issue, because I think it's important to look at things from all kinds of different angles, and I try to do that as much as I can, and I think that this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Make no mistake, I'm still going to be making as much content as I possibly can with updates, builds, and whatever the case may be, and I'm not going anywhere, and I doubt any of the other content creators are going anywhere. I'm sure we'll have plenty of things to say about any sort of update or events or whatever that comes out, and ultimately the game will grow and its community will as well. Well, there it is. Thank you guys for listening to me. I really hope that you guys could gather something out of this, and I hope that if you were fearing of the future of Deep Rock Galactic was grim, I kind of hope that I was able to convince you otherwise, because I don't think that this game is going anywhere. I don't think that its community is going anywhere, and I don't think that the devs are going to let it go away. So what do you guys think about the stuff that I said? Do you agree, or do you think that the game is still going out the window? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you found this video entertaining and informative, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and the bell so you never miss another upload. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.